Stop thinking that you have the leisure and the privilege of time to keep doing things in your life that are not serving you. When you recognize that those things are not serving you, you gotta let it go. You gotta sever the ties. You gotta walk away. Okay. This video is getting too long. So I just decided, let me peel this stuff off right now. This stuff feels so good.
And the lights get up, slow motion, I freeze you, watch me up, sample me, reduce me to soundbite. Hear me, no don't you, just nod your head. Don't try to change it, I said what I said. Hit you with a playback, I said what I said.
Bueno, I feel like I look so weird. I can't stress it enough. I look so weird right now, and I don't like that because I know in person it doesn't look this strange. But right now, I'm like, what the hell? Girl, what the hell? Anywho, now that my charcoal mask is on my face and it is drying, I'm going to read this email that I received from someone. Hopefully by the time I'm done reading the email, I can pull this mask off. It does take a good 10 to 15 minutes for this to dry, I believe. So I won't put this person's name out there. If you watch my channel, if you're subscribed, if you comment, then you will know who you are. This person says, hey, by the way, I've not read this email before. I will respond as I go and then just give you whatever my thoughts are at the end of this, okay? So it says, I've been watching your videos about emancipation and they are very helpful. Oh, girl, who should have? But yes, thank you for watching things first. I encourage the other people who come across my email and send me something to do the same thing. She says, but I still have more questions and I'd like to tell you my personal situation so you can understand more. Okay. I want to get emancipated. I am 16 years old and I live with my auntie and uncle. I have been living with them for a year and 7 months. The reason why I had to move over here is a different story, but basically my mom was doing a bunch of stuff toward me and we ended up getting into an altercation. Me and my mom both got arrested. Okay, what I'm not about to do is laugh at anybody's situation. But I knew that by the second time that I looked up, I knew this was about to be some F shit. I knew it. And it's just getting progressively worse already. I'm so sorry for you, girl. My heart is already breaking for you. I'm already praying for you right now. It says, me and my mom both got arrested and the court orders us a no contact order. So I had no choice but to stay with my auntie. That's interesting that you had no choice but to stay with a relative. Because if you are 16 years old and you get arrested, as a 16-year-old, you have a stronger voice in the court because you're not like an 8-year-old kid saying, I want to live with my daddy. You know what I mean? As a 16-year-old, you do qualify for emancipation, which I'm sure you know, but I'm sure that you could also just go choose to live in like a shelter, or you could choose to live somewhere else. You could ask the state to make you like a ward of the state or something. I don't know. You have options though. I'm surprised that you were automatically put with your aunt and that you are of the understanding that you only can live with her, because I believe there are loopholes. Like within a state, if the state has if a child gets into a situation with her parent, the state usually calls DCFS, and which is like the Department of Children and Family Services, or DFS, Department of Family Services, and you know, those entities get involved and like take you out. Like, they don't always put you with your relative, especially if you don't know the person, or if you don't have a relationship or don't want to, or whatever the case may be. So I would see if there are other options for you, and maybe find a caseworker or something like that, just in the meantime, especially because you say it's been a year and 7 months. You were 15 at the time, probably 14 going on 15 or something like that when you moved over there, I believe. So yeah, now that you're 16, you may have a stronger voice. Anywho, another thing, my mom didn't live in, we lived in a town called, it's like 2 to 3 hours away from, okay, I don't want to put all your business out there, so I might bleep that whole thing out and just not mention this shit. But anyways, from the second I came over here, I told my auntie and my grandmother that lives in my, lives over somewhere, that I didn't want to stay here. My auntie always says, I don't want anybody here that doesn't want to be here, but they always just pushed it aside. So your aunt sounds passive aggressive. How lovely. My auntie always said, da da da, even though me and my mom don't see eye to eye, she's even said it out her own mouth that my auntie doesn't know how to treat kids. Okay, so the pot is calling the kettle black, I see. The woman who doesn't know how to treat kids, aka your mother, who got into altercation with you and has a no contact order against. Okay, so that woman is calling your auntie someone who doesn't know how to. No, it doesn't make sense. Well, it sounds like neither of them know how to treat kids, as far as I'm concerned. My auntie and my whole that side of the family are very controlling. My older sister, that is 20 years old, they still try. Okay, my older sister is 20 years old, and they still try to control her, although she's a grown woman with 2 kids. That's what happens, I think, with families, especially if you live with the people. Listen, as long as you're living off of somebody else, they do control you. You know why? Because they control that check. Okay, and if you don't want to be dealing with that BS anymore, guess what? You need to go out there and get you a check, and you need to make sure and you need to make sure that you have your priorities straight. Don't engage or involve yourself in anything that will deter you from where you're trying to move yourself to, meaning drugs, alcohol. I would say unprotected sex, but honestly, I would say sex in general, especially as a teenager. I don't believe teenagers should be having sex, especially because I think teenagers should be sharpening and cultivating skills that will help them when they are independent. When you are independent, you could pay all your bills and stuff, then go out and have as much sex as you want, protected or unprotected. Make sure that you can deal with the consequences and afford your child. But as long as you are somebody's child, as long as you are living under somebody else's roof and living off of somebody else, you close your legs and you focus on school and sword fighting and culinary class and shit like that. That's what I believe. Your older sister being 20-year-olds thing and being and having 2 kids and all that kind of stuff, like, it just sounds like that's one more person who cannot help you right now. No offense or nothing, no disrespect at all, but if your sister has 2 kids and she's only 20 years old, she has her hands full and she's still a kid herself. Me and my auntie got, and that's coming from someone who, like, is around her age, so I mean that with respect, because I called my grandmother and told her again I didn't want to live here anymore. My auntie then came into my room and said my feelings, and she hit me. My uncle had to get her off of me. Listen, it sounds like your auntie is using you as an emotional punching bag, and maybe she feels that since she has taken you in, you should be sucking on her toes. You should be making her a bowl of ramen every night with a glass of brandy. I don't know what the hell. It sounds like your aunt expects for you to worship the ground that she walks on because she pulled you from where, I don't know how to describe where you were coming from, but it sounds like a toxic place. She pulled you from a toxic place, and it sounds like she feels like you owe her something. I don't know how many different times I had to deal with that same arrogant, entitled, and really telling mentality that some people had when I was living in their house. It didn't matter that I was working maybe 2 jobs at one point, 1 job or whatever. It didn't matter how much I did in the house and outside of the house. It didn't matter how much money I brought home. The people in the different households that I'm specifically referring to had a habit of talking to me and treating me as if I was nothing, and it's as if all I were to be was grateful that they took me in, because I would be nothing without it. And girl, bye. They would talk to me as if I was living in their home and just sitting down like in my room all day, like sleeping or something like that. Just because you don't know what someone is doing, like that doesn't mean that they're not doing anything. You know what I mean? So listen, this whole F your feelings, that's how people who are paying your rent feel. They feel like F you and F your feelings. You know why? Because you are not doing nothing. In their eyes, you're not doing anything to counteract your circumstance. You're not doing anything, and you may not be capable. You know, sometimes your parents act this way towards you. You're 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. You can't get a job right now, even if you wanted to. But some people still have that mentality towards you. All I can say is get up out of there. All I can say is value yourself. I would say get yourself in a position where you are safe more than anything, because all these ideas of what you wish your life would be like are more possible, and they seem more accessible and within your reach when you are safe first. You have to get out of survival mode in order to become a victor and to start winning in life. Okay, so I would say focus on your safety first. You said that she came into your room and said F your feelings, and then she hit you to the point where your uncle had to get her off of you. Again, it sounds like you are not safe there. It sounds like the women in your life, your mother, your auntie, your grandmother, your sister, cannot protect you. And honestly, it sounds like they can hardly do very much for themselves. So you're going to be on your own. I could tell already. Then my dad called me and said it isn't his concern whether I'm happy or comfortable here. Okay, again, no one's on your side, no one's helping you, that's clear. My dad is deported, by the way. He lives in Panama and ain't allowed to come here until another 10 years. I don't want to know why. I'm gonna keep scrolling. After the argument, I got really depressed. I would sleep all day and wouldn't leave my room till they went into their room around 11 or 12 at night, and then that's when I would come out and take a shower, get something to eat, then go back into my room. Another thing is I don't leave this house for months. Okay, before I keep on scrolling, I could so relate to that. I would only go into the kitchen and eat and whatnot whenever I knew people weren't home, and whenever I knew people were going to be downstairs or, you know, wherever, outside or in the other room for a really long time, to avoid human interaction and to avoid human contact. I talked to my friends and stuff on the phone, but I seemed so like dead inside to everybody in the actual house because of how often I stayed in my room and like talked to nobody in the house. Like, it's amazing how a person can like be in a space physically and so not be present at all. It's wild. But it is also not something to become good at. And the reason I say that is because you're 16 years old, right? You've been doing this for probably like a good year, right? Maybe even longer with your mom. Everything that you're doing right now is setting the stage and the tone for the kind of adult you're going to be, the kind of woman you're growing into. And you won't be a woman for another 10 years or whatever, so don't rush to be that. However, you are growing from a young girl into a young lady, and what gets you to those different not chapters, but ranks, is your level of maturity and responsibility and accountability and stuff like that. You have to hold yourself accountable for your upbringing, for your safety, for everything that concerns you. Because at some point in life, we all must learn that nobody is obligated to care for us except for us. We have to care for ourselves individually before anything else, and better than we do anyone else. And the hardest thing you're going to do, I believe, is break free from everything and everyone who has you in chains. For you to be waiting until 11 and 12 o'clock at night to start your day is not okay. It's not healthy. And the problem is that you're too young to be doing this now. It's not healthy at any age. But if you're 23 living in your own apartment and you're battling these kinds of things, you're in your own space, and it's really just up to you to figure out what rhythm and routine you want to get into. That's a lot harder to do when you're living with other people and you're a child, because if there's anything about parents and adults, they think that they're better than you. Adults often think that they know better than you. Adults will make a million mistakes. Adults will have reckless, unprotected sex, bring a child into this world that they know that they're not ready for. Instead of aborting the thing, whether you believe in abortion or not, instead of doing what is best for the child, they just force the child to struggle with them. And then you have a household full of adults and children struggling. And even though the adult is putting you through so much hell that could have been avoided if they had just closed their legs or just not had sex in general, with the partner that, is your father, whoever, like, they will not own those things. Most of the time, adults just become really big-headed and believe, like, I'm mature, I'm grown, you must listen to me, it's whatever. Like, you would think that over time that they would become better people. Oftentimes, people just become more set in stone. So if they're a shitty person, if they were a shitty teenager, they stay that way. And it's unfortunate, but something that I've learned over and over again is I am not responsible to watch anybody grow, and neither are you. It doesn't matter how young you are. When you recognize that you're not safe in a space, the only thing you can do is leave. And I know that there are going to be people who are like, girl, you crazy, you telling these kids to leave. No, I'm not telling anybody to pick up their and leave their parents' house. When we're talking about emancipation, I think you should go through the process the right way. But I will be honest, my situation was really toxic. I was most likely going to die at the hands of my mother before I turned 18 years old, because of how volatile and hostile things were in the household. Like, within one summer, or I would say maybe 4 or 5 months, I witnessed my parents put hands on several of their children, send their children to jail and what have you, kick them out of the house and all that kind of stuff. And I knew that I was next, because they were the type of people who didn't want to be challenged or questioned. And that's fine, if you are a parent, like, responsible for your own stuff. But then when you're telling me that I'm supposed to, like, go to work and give you my whole check just because I'm a child and you're my parent, hell no. You're going to be challenged. You're going to be questioned. Who do you think you are? What do you mean? I'm not going to work for you, sir. I'm going to work because you won't buy me anything. Now you're coming into my room. You're trying to take my whole check. No. When you start dealing with stuff like that, all that whole "you're my mom" stuff goes out the window. I don't give a damn who you are. You're not going to disrespect me. If I don't get to walk into your room and take your checks, you're not walking into my room and taking my checks. If I don't get to walk into the room and pop you upside your head, guess the fuck what? You're not popping me upside my head, sir. No. If I don't get to do X, Y, and Z, guess the fuck what? You don't get to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and anything until we get to X, Y, and Z. Why? Because that's how respect works. And unfortunately, a lot of adults don't think that way. They think that since they're paying for you to live, they're paying the household that they are forcing you to stay in, they're paying for the roof over your head that you didn't even ask for, they think you must, again, worship the ground that they walk on. Once you realize what it is, you gotta just walk away. You got to set something up for yourself and walk away and be strong and courageous enough to see it through the end. Sometimes I think that we get stuck because and this is just a general thing. I'm not saying that this is you, but it may apply to you one day and maybe even right now. But I think sometimes we get stuck because we don't hold ourselves accountable for our own safety. And what I mean by that is, it is your job to save yourself. And sometimes we expect somebody else to do that. We expect everybody except for us to get us out of situations. And you got to understand that the only person in your life who is responsible for your well-being is you. And you have to take that into your own hands. I was 15 years old when I did it. I was scared shitless. There are a lot of things that I didn't appreciate that I went through, but I would go away from my parents all the way over again if I had to, especially knowing the shit show that I was born into and the shit show of my family. Like, why wouldn't I walk away? Why shouldn't you walk away? For everybody who encourages you to stay in a situation like that, ask them if they are going to be paying for your funeral when your auntie beats you to death, or your mother beats you to death, or what have you, and your father or your uncle don't come to your rescue. Because it's all good and well until the child ends up dead, or until the child ends up in the foster care system, or the child ends up in jail, or the child ends up on the road begging people for money. You don't want that to be you. So I would say get control of your life before everything gets out of your hands. Get control of your life and start looking for resources near you. Again, a shelter does not sound so bad. Listen, on 3 separate occasions, I was ready to go to a shelter. Each time, I was fortunate enough to not have to go. One time I should have gone, but somebody's mom took me right back to the household I was staying at. And I left a year later, you know what I mean? Because your gut knows when you need to be free. I'm sorry, I'm done ranting and stuff. I just had to say that because my girl. This is something I'll say before I finish reading your email. If you think that you're going to do this from age 16 to 18, I would like you to consider something. The late Kobe Bryant said, one of the greatest mistakes that we will ever make is thinking that we have enough time. I would like you to let that sink in. One of the greatest mistakes that we will ever make is thinking that we have enough time. That is one of the biggest things that I had to stop doing. And I really implemented that into my life this year. And that probably will not make much sense until videos come out much later and everything is explained. But stop thinking that you have all the time in the world, because you don't. If you read the news, one thing you would know is that many people are here today and gone tomorrow. And I'm not trying to instill into anybody the fear of death or nothing like that. I'm just saying, honestly, stop thinking that you have the leisure and the privilege of time to keep doing things in your life that are not serving you. When you recognize that those things are not serving you, you got to let it go. You got to sever the ties. You got to walk away. Okay. This video is getting too long. So I just decided, let me peel this stuff off right now. This stuff feels so good. And weird, but good. Look at this. Oh my goodness. So there aren't many particles, but I definitely see a lot like by the nose area. That's usually where most of the buildup is. What I like about this mask is it's very clean. Like if I'm going to sleep over someone's house or something, if I'm just packing an overnight bag or whatever, I really like to bring this mask or a peel off mask or a sheet mask, because those are like the cleanest masks. You don't gotta wash it in the sink or nothing. I make several powdered masks, and sometimes it could be a little messy. Okay, I think I got most of it off. If not, that's fine. When I put my moisturizers on, the rest of it will come off. But I think I got most of it. This video is just way too long, and I'm sorry. I don't mean for my videos to be this long. As I said, I just usually have like so much to say. But see. So I'm gonna read the rest of your email and then moisturize my face and say what I have to say. It's almost done. I would sleep all day and wouldn't leave my room till they went into their room around 11 or 12 at night, and then that's when I would come out and take a shower, get something to eat, then go back into my room. Sounds like me when I was 15, 16, 17. Another thing is I didn't leave the house. I don't leave the house for months. The only time I leave is when we go to see my grandmother in the town that she lives in, and I'm still with my auntie. Other than that, I don't leave my house literally. Not even to go to the back porch or the mailbox. If I'd asked to go somewhere, it would be a big thing, so I don't even bother. I understand that feeling. And one thing I would say is the whole leaving the house thing. I mean, a lot of people are in that place because of the pandemic. You wrote this to me like during this pandemic that's still ongoing. So I do I only say that because I don't want you to feel like a freak of nature because you don't leave the house. Guess what? A lot of people don't leave the house. If you are working remotely, you definitely like hardly leave the house. You know what I mean? You're also 16. You don't have a car. You don't have a job. Where are you supposed to go during a pandemic? Like, the most you can really do is go outside. I would do that if I were you. Get some fresh air. Sometimes stepping outside is the best way to step outside of your head. Sometimes if you're in your head too much, you can convince yourself that your circumstances are far worse than they really are. Sometimes you really need to go sit outside on the porch. And I understand you not wanting to bump into anybody and everything, but listen, you live there too. Your presence is already known. I think you might as well try to take advantage of the space that you're in to the best of your ability. And if you can't take advantage of the space that you're in, like the house, take advantage of the room that you're in. Cultivate as many skills as you can there. Make music, write songs, do whatever. I'm a creative person, so that stuff like alleviates everything that I'm struggling with for me usually. However, if you're not a creative person, maybe you're Bob the Builder type, like maybe you need to make something with your hands. Try to make arts and crafts. Get on YouTube, look at videos. Like, you have to find ways to stimulate yourself so that you're not sitting in a room feeling bad for yourself, because that's not going to help you at all. And I understand not asking to go anywhere because it's a big deal. I don't think that that's a bad idea at all. When you recognize that people will try to make you feel like crap for any old thing, don't ask them for nothing. Because guess what? I'm trying so hard not to cuss, but guess what? When you no longer need to put yourself around those people, when you don't ever need to speak to those people ever again, they will miss you. They will recognize what it's like, what it was like to have you around, and realize that things could have been better if they had treated you better, or if things were different, and etc., etc. But either way, I just I think that you're wise to not like ask for much, but I think you should still expect much of yourself. You should still want yourself to help you get out of this situation. I would say don't convince yourself that you are to blame for your circumstances. You're not. Realize that every single adult around you has failed you. And don't feel bad about yourself because of that. It's not your fault that they have failed you. Just recognize that and choose not to fail yourself on top of that. You will be better as long as you choose not to fail yourself just like they have. Even when you say, even when it was my birthday, I didn't even leave my house. And to make it worse, my dad called me to tell me that him and my mom were on the phone with each other talking about everything I've done wrong. And he felt the need to call me and tell me that on my birthday. That was already making me sad. I was alone. Even my grandmother was mad when she found this out. So listen, why can't you go live with your grandmother? I don't know if you said that in the email earlier, but why can't you go live with your grandmother? Has she not offered? Have you not spoken to? I mean, you say you call her, but obviously, like, she cannot be trusted. But if you say you call your grandmother and you explain to her that you don't want to live there, and your aunt found out and came in and hit you and stuff like that, it sounds like your grandmother can't be trusted. So on second thought, I don't know that you should try to live with her. I think we should stick to the original plan of like just depending on yourself as much as you can, and considering other places like a house for girls. Like, I know someone in my family, had an altercation with my mother, and this person went to go live in like a shelter during the rest of the senior year or something like that. I know that shelters are not ideal and everything, but listen, peace of mind is more important than anything to me. Peace of mind is everything. So if I have to sit in a little shelter, in a little 10 by 10 or 5 by 5 room or whatever the hell, and call that my room for the next year or whatever, I know that I will make that room so pretty and so beautiful, and I know that I will make the most out of my resources. And if that doesn't work out for me, I will keep on going. I'm just resilient like that. I hope you are too. As for your father is not shit. Let me just say that right now. Your father is not shit. Your father is stuck out of the country for some situation, and can't come back for 10 years or something like that. Sounds like your father like didn't go about things responsibly. That's okay. People make mistakes or whatever. I don't know the situation of why he was deported, so I won't speak too much on that. But he's not shit. So for him to be calling you on your birthday or any day to talk about how, oh, he's talking with your mother, I would say, okay, why are you talking to me? That's why I'm in my situation. That's why I left home at 15, because you're not about to talk to me crazy like that. And you are not even in a position to help me, even though you're supposed to, since you're my father. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not shedding tears or feeling bad for something or somebody like that. I understand that's your father, but listen, do not let people you would never want to be like, people you would never take advice from, or people that you don't even respect ever make you feel any type of negative way about yourself. Do not ever, somebody say ever, somebody say ever, do not ever, do not ever, do not ever, ever in your life let somebody you can't even respect, somebody you don't like, somebody you would never ever want to look like on your worst day, somebody you would never want to be like, ever make you feel bad about yourself. Laugh at those modefocas. Laugh at them. At those modefocas. Okay? Laugh at them. I'm not shedding tears over nobody. You talking to me? No, you're not. You're not. You trying to make me feel bad about myself? No, you're not. No, it's not. It's not happening. You are not breaking through my fucking barrier at all. I don't know you, sir. That's why I was in the situation that I was in. That's why I left at 15 years old, because that's my mindset. Anywho, you said, I just recently went back to face-to-face school because of COVID. I was doing it on computer, but I'm back to regular school now. So now I go to school, then come home. I don't have a job, but I'm looking for one because I know I'm going to need one if I want to get emancipated. You damn right. You damn right. I'm glad you know that. I just want advice as to what I should do, because I know in your video you said that if your parents say no, it's basically a wrap. Yes, it's a wrap with a bow on top and two bows, might I add, because you got two parents. Only my father showed up because he was the one who spoke enough English. Um, because I know in your video you said that that wasn't meant to be a diss to my mother, by the way. But it's just funny how, I just think it's funny how, like, my parents hardly spoke English, couldn't read English, yet they had all the control over my life, and I was the one signing documents and stuff like that. This world is so backwards. That's why I just say you gotta jump ship when it's time to, and F everything else that everybody else gotta say. People will say, stay with your parents can't even read. Stay with your parents. Your parents are calling you out of the room and waking you up to do it. You're raising your parents. You're raising your parents' children. And people will say, stay with your parents. Your parents know the best. Your parents have your best interest. I'm raising my parents. The fuck? I'm supposed to stay with them? No. I just want advice as to what I should do, because I know in your video you say your parents, if your parents say no, it's a wrap on top, and I know none of them are going to agree with this. Okay, so then you know emancipation is most likely not an option for you. It sounds like since you're back in school, I would use that to your advantage. I would call some social workers. Don't do nothing impulsively. You have to strategize and you have to think. Please strategize and please think. I don't know how your mind works, but for me, if I start seeing signs that something is not working out, I already start thinking about what my escape plan would be, and I already start preparing for that. Like, best to believe, when my mother threatened to beat my behind when my father came home and kicked me out of the house and all that kind of stuff, best to believe a week prior I already had everything I own packed into bags. That's how you need to be thinking. That's what I mean when I say strategize. And I didn't know, by the way, what day I was going to be departing. I just knew that my parents were threatening to kill me and go to jail if I did not give them my check when I started working when I was 15 years old. So, you know, it says, I mean, you basically just said that you know that they're not going to agree to you being emancipated. They're not going to help you become emancipated. You're on your own. Let that sink in and start thinking, what is the wise thing for you to do? Without harming anybody and without harming yourself, what is the most logical thing for you to do? Oh, child, I'm really praying for you. My heart is crying so much. Está llorando ahora, because I really feel for you. You're so young, just like I was so young. And it's a shame how we keep having to deal with this. And you're from Panama. Oh my God, you are Caribbean. Hey, or not Caribbean, Central American, but you still one of us, girl. You still, hey, that's awesome. Shout out to you. Congratulations. One thing your parents did right. They made you Caribbean. Your dad's attended your, oh, I seen you say your dad attended your court hearing, but since my father is deported, do you know how that will work? It sounds like your mother would have to attend your hearing. But here's the thing, if nobody shows up, I wonder if that will work in your advantage. Like if for some reason your mom can't show up, your auntie can't show up, I wonder if the judge would be like, they're obviously not responsible or present in her life. Let's give her the emancipation. Let's grant her the petition. I wonder if that works that way. I don't know. I think you should talk to your lawyer about that. And go search up pro bono, PRO space BONO lawyer, LAWYER. Put that in the search engine and search and put your zip code or whatever and search, and make sure you do it in incognito mode if you know how to use incognito mode on your browser so your search history is not saved. If you don't know how to use incognito mode, search that up, and then when you figure it out, delete your search history. Because if your parents have access to your phones and your devices and stuff, best to believe all they have to do is type in anything, a letter, and they will be able to see everything you're searching up on things. So think about that too. And does my mom have to attend since I'm not living with her? I'm living with my auntie. If your auntie is the one with legal guardianship over you, then your auntie is the one who needs to show up. I believe your mom could show up if she wants to. Your auntie could show up. I mean, my father showed up and brought my two older sisters, you know, and they weren't invited. Like, they didn't need to be there. But again, my father hardly speaks English. He needed them to translate. Lord have mercy, God. Lord have mercy. You said if you could get back to me, I really appreciate it. Thank you. Well, listen, I'm sorry that it took me so long, and I apologize that this is so long. What I may do is convert this into podcast form and maybe take the highlights of this and put it in video form so that you can have the extended link, which is going to be super freaking long. I'm sorry. And then the video link, you know, could just be there as well. I didn't even get to apply any of my moisturizers or nothing like that because I was too busy reading and talking in the beginning, but that's okay. I'm glad to have finally, you know, responded to somebody, and you at that, because your situation is woo child, woo child. That's all I'm trying to tell you right now. Use your resources. You have to, because what you're trying to do is essentially get your life started, and this called living ain't easy. Okay, life is not easy at all. It really isn't. And if not for the positive moments and people, it's just gonna feel like shit. So I'm sorry. I just had to like burst your bubble real quick and let you know that, because life is not peaches and creams and roses and shit like that, but it's also not all hell either. For the most part, it's just what you make of it on a daily basis and what you tell yourself and what you amount to, you know. But I've said a lot. I want to leave it at that, and I hope that this was helpful for you. And thank you again for the email. Thank you for watching and subscribing and liking and all the other stuff that you have done. Thank you for commenting and engaging with other people down below, because I'm pretty sure you guys help each other when I don't respond to you right away. And I think that that's great, you know, keep the dialogue going. But on that note, I will say, tata mi amores, take care.
Gonna give you this mic back, but what I'm gonna say to the ladies that been told that you cannot have, you tell the devil you's a liar.